Speaking of our moral betters, uh, just last week, it was the Golden Globes, and surprisingly, they allowed Ricky Gervais to host again. And if you don't, or if you're not familiar with Ricky Gervais, he's writer, director, comedian, writer, director, producer. He was the one who created The Office, the original one, the British one. Before I think he licensed it to NBC to create the American version of The Office. But in the past, when he's hosted the Golden Globes, he's had some pretty spicy. He had some pretty spicy things to say. I think my favorite joke of his was what is it? I forget which Golden Globe it was, but it was around the time that Bruce Jenner was transitioning to Caitlyn Jenner, and Bruce, in the midst of transition, Bruce / Caitlyn got into an accident and killed a person. Just so you know, she killed a person. And Ricky Gervais, made a joke, and the joke went something like, saying, Caitlyn Jenner making huge strides for the representation of trans people. It's like, but not for women drivers.
That's right. Oh my god!
And I remember hearing that joke, and I was laughing my ass off. But then the next day, everyone's like, oh, "Well, how dare you?"
Yeah.
So they're losing, and so they lost their shit over that. I still love that joke. That's
what is that? It's probably 5 years later. It's still awesome.
Yeah, it's still hilarious. It's still a hilarious joke. I don't know what everyone's problem is. Anyways, he was brought back again, and in spectacular fashion, in his monologue, he just roasted the ever-loving shit out of all the celebrities.
I think because he said this is going to be his last Oscars or Golden Globes, and he's like, so I think he was like, you know what, I'm going to go out with a bang.
Right, he definitely went out. Oh God. Yeah, he definitely went out. Two birds in the air. But it was glorious. He tackled he hit him hard in everything.
Yup.
Talking about the hypocrisy of climate change, of actors who say that they're so woke, but then they work for companies like Apple and Amazon who basically treat their employees like slave labor. And who pontificate about things they know nothing about. Yep. And he accused them of being in school less time than Greta Thunberg, which I thought was a great one. And he roasted them about all of kind of the Me Too stuff, but mostly about Jeffrey Epstein. He got a dig at Leonardo DiCaprio, where it's one time Leo went to a premiere for one of his movies with a date, and and it was so long that by the end of it she was too old for him.
Oh shit.
So yeah, but I think the greatest thing for me was at the end of his monologue when he was basically saying hey, if you win an award tonight, great, but but don't use it as an opportunity to make a political speech. Just come, get your award, thank your agent, thank your God, and just get the fuck off. And I thought that it was so refreshing to hear this. Um, uh, and I love that his opening monologue set the tone for the rest of the night. And yeah, it didn't stop many of the celebrities from giving political speeches, but it definitely took the piss out of them. It definitely took the punch out of what they had to say, because basically, Ricky Gervais said, if you come up here and you give a political speech, you're a douchebag, and everyone knows that you're a douchebag. So you're just gonna look more like a douchebag if you give a political speech after what I just said.
Yeah. Well, you even said like there was one. I think you said if ISIS created a streaming service, you'd be calling your agent.
Yeah.
It's just and he's and Gervais is no conservative either. He's
No,
a
it
liberal.
was so funny because people were accusing him of being like far alt right, or like courting the alt right or
No,
whatever.
not even like close.
Yeah, I mean, Gervais is like your your typical liberal. Like you're like, I mean, I don't know if it's still fashionable to say, but a classical liberal. Like,
Yeah.
and he's an atheist to boot.
But yeah, it was great to see. It just the it's because I think that there's a lot of people in Hollywood that might have. There's people in Hollywood that definitely have that mindset, but they still want to be an actor, they still want to be a producer or whatever, and so they kind of just keep their mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
So it is refreshing when one of those voices, and I think there's a lot of comedians that are starting to come out and it's like fuck these guys. It's like, yeah, they're not conservative, but they're like, this is horseshit. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe in any of this, and they're having their what the liberals and Democrats and the left supposedly championed for so long, which was free speech and being allowed to do the things that they want to do. Yet now they're kind of this the puritanical like police that are
Yeah,
like,
they're the pearl clutchers now. Back it was like the right leaning Christians who were like the school marms, and saying like, oh, you can't you can't dance, you can't say those naughty words. But now it's the left. They're like, now it's like, no, it's like, you can't do that, you can't say that, you can't say the naughty words.
and so I think that this is yeah, Gervais is giving them the middle finger, and it's like you guys are all a bunch of hypocrites. You punched them in the face, and they deserved it. And I think it uh, for a lot of people, yeah, they're lashing out, because it's true, and it's and yeah, he made them look stupid. Something that everyone knows, but it's kind of like when it's just like it's put out like to the 40 people that watch the Golden Globes, to the audience in general. It's like, god damn, like, yeah, we all know this stuff is true, but it's kind of refreshing that it's being said on stage to these people.
Right, I mean, it's like the whole it's like the whole Harvey Weinstein thing, where it's like the worst kept secret in Hollywood, where it's like, before it was like, it was played for laughs, but now it's like we're now seeing how truly evil and monstrous these people are.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, and these guys come out and they talk about how, like, all men are evil scum that are trying to rape women. It's like, no, we're not. It's you people in Hollywood who are creating this environment. You fuck kids. You kind of have women give themselves up. If you don't have sex with this producer, you're not going to get a job, and that happens in Hollywood. That's normal Hollywood. Real life America, that's not happening. But because you have, and then you have, unfortunately, you have a young generation that all they care about is celebrity, and so they hear the stuff coming from celebrities, and they believe that it's, oh well, oh my God, this horrible society, all these terrible men, and it's my college campus, like, I mean, I'm gonna be raped, and it's like, no, that's not happening. No one's doing any of that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like the facade, the mask of the glamorous, Hollywood celebrity is definitely falling off now. We're now seeing these people, for what they truly are, pox and all, pockmarks and all. And I think, and I'm glad for it. I'm sincerely glad for it happening. Um, for so long, they've been, like Robert's been saying this whole time, it's like, they're, jokingly, of course, but it's like, oh, there are moral betters. And, that's how, I think, they got high off their own supply, essentially. They're, like, or in how South Park, they kind of describe these kind of uppity coastal elites as people who enjoy the smell of their own farts. Um, yeah, but yeah, that's who these people are. They love the smell of their own farts. They actually believe the bullshit that they're slinging about themselves. Um, so for now, just to see the mask like completely gone or slidden off their face to reveal the true like ugliness and ignorance, um, of these people is just is just something to behold. Yeah. Although a more cynical side of me does fear that this was a controlled burn.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, it's because they kind of saw what which way the wind was blowing, and so they decided it's like to allow this to happen.
So you think that, like, because obviously a lot of these award shows, like, the Oscars, the Golden Globes, all this stuff is, they have like zero audience essentially.
Yeah, yeah. So
They
again, this is like one
they
of the lowest viewed Golden Globes in the last like 10 years.
So you're thinking like they have, Ricky Gervais be, because he's liked by a lot, quite even, by quite a lot of people, and it's like, be as edgy as you can and see what happens. Because obviously being controversial sells better than, just someone who kind of is kind of straight and narrow, right? So you think
Right.
that
Exactly.
that's
Yes.
kind
Because I
of,
mean, they're not idiots. I'm sure they've seen the numbers for uh, Dave Chappelle's special and Bill Burr's special, and just because and I mean, Bill Burr doesn't get as much credit as Dave Chappelle,
Chappelle
but his special was
just as
uh,
good.
just as good. Uh, but yeah, I think they're seeing how like again they're seeing how the wind they saw which direction the wind was blowing, and they're like, okay, let's just let's kind of let this happen and let's just try this and see what happens. Or
Yeah,
they allowed it to happen, more or less.
yeah, I could see that being a possibility too. Like I said, Gervais is no conservative, so it's quite possible that that's what they were doing. It's still great. I mean, I didn't watch the Golden Globes. I caught the aftermath, obviously, but and just because Gervais was edgy, like, doesn't mean I'm gonna watch another Golden Globes. But yeah, sure, I could see that being the case.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, hopefully, this will be a turning point, an indicator of the pendulum, swinging back the other direction. But again, we'll just have to wait and see.